Matt,
Hey,
what's up?
not a lot. Can you hear me and everything okay? Yeah.
Yeah, you sound good, man. Thank you for taking a second to come on here. I appreciate you finding a spot where you have some reception today. I know this was a bit of a journey for you. So,
Yeah, no, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
if anyone who's watching right now doesn't know, this is Matt Honeycutt, sings for the band Kublai TX now, I suppose.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Awesome dude. He's been a friend for years now. Toured with my band, been at the studio several times. All around solid human, and pretty vocal about his opinions, how he feels about what's going on. So I thought this would be an awesome platform for you to speak a little bit too. So thank you for being here, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me, for real, man.
Yeah. So I could dig in a little bit about some of your music, but I know you've always used, you've definitely used Kublai as a platform to kind of raise some awareness for some of these injustices and police brutality. I mean, True Fear is basically an anthem for what's going on right now. I think there's like the line in that song that's always used to stick out to me is when you say mad because I'm yelling, I'm mad because you're silent. And I just thought, man, if anything would apply, to what's going on in the world right now, that's literally how I felt. As soon as all this stuff started popping off, I'm literally getting mad at my friends and mad at people I care for who aren't doing anything, and yeah, I mean, like when you wrote that song, like obviously a lot was going through your mind, but like that perspective that you had on that, I don't know, it just kind of rang a bell for me. So I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about it too.
Yeah. And I mean, it honestly, I wrote that song a couple years ago, and I'm not the first person to write anything like that. I feel like that's a pretty common theme, which that's the most unfortunate part about it, is that it's common, that so many people have to deal with it, and so many people understand 100% and completely what, me and others are talking about. And I even say it in the song, like I haven't even had it that bad in comparison to a lot of people. You know what I mean? And it kind of sucks that it's more relevant now than it was at the time almost. And it's all that stuff kind of resurges and bumps back down. And, you have these tragedies that occur where, people lose their lives and people get angry for a little bit and then things simmer back down. And it seems like the cycle kind of repeats. And I feel like at least with this, I mean, to me, this time feels a little bit different because it's not just going away so easily. You know what I mean? Which is what I want, or what I think that the powers that be kind of want is for everybody to, be mad for a minute, but then go back to normal life and then forget about it. You know what I mean? But how long can you go before you can't keep forgetting about it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like the manipulation of like, what the narrative is in the news and in the world, that quick switch off of issues is sort of run its course. I don't think people are, at least, from the people I've spoken to today, it seems like people are pretty aware that trick's like been pretty played out now and people are starting to see through that, it's just this conversation that keeps happening now. And I feel like it's not even really an echo chamber because it's everybody, it's everybody I interact with. It's everybody I read for the most part who isn't literally a racist,
Yeah.
online is like on this long-term tip now. And I think it sucks that it, took these events to get people to open up and realize like, all right, gotta move a little more now. Can't be complacent anymore. But, I am glad that those conversations are happening more now,
Yeah. I mean, it's, you said it perfect. It's good that it's happening, but it kind of, how many people had to die to get to this point? How many things had to go brushed under the rug or, justice didn't get served for people to get to the point where, yeah, maybe this is kind of a problem, and people are starting to realize that. And I think exactly what you said as well, that people are starting to get over mainstream media. They're starting to see through that shit. They're starting to see that listening to your community and listening to the people that are actually in the struggle having to deal with stuff, you're going to get a completely different story than what, the media is pushing to you. And I think, the media is a weapon of mass destruction on all fronts, not just about this topic, but just everything. When people are so easily controlled by what, is put right in front of them, I feel like that's really dangerous, duh. But it's one of those things that the more that people start to question everything and people are starting to really ask questions now and kind of propose things that have never been considered realistically before, like actually trying to reform the police department and stuff like that. Like, you know, that's a great leap forward, and it's a tragic leap forward in the sense that there's still people dying. There's it seems like every day people are still getting shot, and it's just like we got to pump the brakes on this whole situation and kind of come together and really start to listen to each other and figure out what the fuck's going on, because otherwise, this is all going to go to hell in a handbasket. There's
Sure. I mean, I feel like, when I talk to somebody like you who has a more global perspective, I mean, you've toured the world several times now. You've been all over the place. You've interacted with people, from different areas, different communities. What do you think people in Texas or people who never leave their hometowns, like, what do you think the answer is to get those people to kind of be aware that it's more than what's going on in your backyard? That even though this is not happening in your suburb, like this shit is real, and there's no more time to just pretend that it's that it's not there because you can't see it. Like what
yeah.
have you thought about that at all? I'm just interested because I mean Texas can be very polarizing. There's obviously strong, Republican ties and oil money, and there's some wealth theft, and Texas is the Wild West, man. So it's like I'm just curious, what the perspective of people down there is, and what if you've seen any ways where change is moving into a positive place.
Yeah, and I mean, I grew up in a small Texas town. I went to high school in a town that was tiny and stuff like that. And for a lot of people like that, they don't ever get out. And what I would tell them is to turn off their television and go fill up their gas tank and go somewhere else for a while. You know what I mean? When you really start, and that's what even to this day has done it for me, as far as trying to broaden my worldview and see how other people live and try and figure out my take on the whole world. Because if you're staying in one place and you're surrounding yourself with people that are just going to agree with you, because that's kind of inherently what a lot of folks do is, oh, this person is like-minded, this person agrees with me, so we're going to just talk about this all together. What you need to do is talk with people that disagree with you civilly. You know what I mean? And that's why I fight so hard for people to be challenged. Talk to people that you don't want to talk to. Talk to the people that you might despise, because that's how if everybody's just on one end or the other, it's just going to dig people in further. Everybody's going to sit in their trench and never get any further with anything. And it's a scary thing. A lot of people don't want to talk to people, and a lot of people don't want to be open-minded, I feel like, on either side. And that's, like I said, that's what the powers that be, that works to their advantage. We're all going to get rolled over at some point if that's how things are going to go. But once people start to figure out that, we all have a handle on this, we all have a life, we all have, a voice, then as cheesy as it sounds, I feel like that's the only way we're going to get through it. Because dividing everybody up and everybody willing to, die for their opinion right now is it's important, but it's also dangerous. You know what I mean? Because I think, the country's on the brink of some kind of a meltdown. You know what I mean? Things are just getting hotter and hotter for everybody. And it's in every, you can't escape it. It's in school, it's in media, it's in, everything. It's talking to your neighbor. Sometimes it'll just get crazy because people everything is so one-sided. And it's, I just wish people could have conversations again. I feel like that's one thing that is really lacking. And like I said, I feel like the media makes that impossible. But what were you going to say?
Yeah, it's come up in almost every interview today about how communication and conversations, like, are a gateway to kind of solving some of these problems. I mean, I know you particularly, like we've talked about events before, and I know like how you kind of stand on violence really not being an answer to certain problems, and not resorting to that, and trying to use your voice and trying to persuade minds and stuff like that. There are people out there though that just don't want to listen, and then you see these protests and riots, and you see people, smashing cop cars and stuff, and it's hard to come to terms with that. That's justifiable in the sense that this is the last resort, and this is like a cry for help and stuff. And when you in your time, have you experienced, like, have you had a conversation with someone who was on the wrong side of history, for lack of a better word? And like, have you had any, is there any advice you can give, or was there any good takeaway? Have you broken through to anybody? Do you know what I mean? I'm interested because I do think you can approach hot situations very calmly, and I'm just curious to see if that's like, if you've come across that, maybe touring, maybe living in Texas.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, it's not the kind of thing that just it happens and then you're changed forever. I feel like the situation is always evolving. You know, the social experiment that's going on that is the United States is it's like a river. It's always flowing. It's not just, you know, sitting still. So breaking through to people and stuff like that, I feel like people view it as something that it's like a conquest rather than a journey. You know what I mean? And yeah, I mean, I've talked to people that I have friends that believe the complete opposite of what I believe. And that's perfectly okay because I feel like the minute that I disregard my humanity, as far as like, well, I'm just going to choose to hate everybody that doesn't think like me, that's, you know, what made me want to be more open minded was being hated by people that thought that, you know, just because I believed a certain thing. And the thing that bugs me with everything nowadays is you're put in a box. If you believe one thing, then you believe these 10 other things too. It's like, dude, you can have multiple opinions and multiple standpoints on a million different things. And when people start to categorize you or put you in a box and say, well, you believe this, so I'm not going to like you. It's like, that's what cuts out the conversation. That's what cuts out people learning. And, you know, I've talked to skinheads before. They've, you know, people have come out to our shows and shit like that. And I've never tried to approach anybody with violence or anything like that because, I mean, it's like, in my head, and you know, there's people I'm sure that would fucking disagree with me and think I'm a chump for this, and I really don't care. But it's like, I would rather talk to somebody because the standpoint that I hold as far as being a minority, and I say this a lot, what I can do to change people's minds on something rather than berate them and beat them and hit them is to be a good person to them and show them that we're not different and that there's not something to be afraid of. Because I feel like a lot of it is just apprehension and fear. You know what I mean? And it's one of those things. I'm not on a conquest or some crusade to change everybody's mind. I feel like prejudice is within everybody. You know, people that say that they have zero prejudice they're fucking liars. It's absolutely, you know, it doesn't everybody has it. It's something you have to work through. It's something that you're not born with, but something that you can develop over time through events and, you know, situations that alter your thinking. Just like anything else in your life. It's something that you have to constantly work through. And I'll talk to people about stuff because, you know, what I believe or vice versa. But it's really up to them to change their mind. You know what I mean? And that's the most important thing is if you can really talk to somebody and have them step back and internally they're like, oh shit, like maybe I am a racist piece of shit and I need to fucking pump the brakes on this. Then if they can work it through for themselves, that is a victory. You know what I mean? But if you have to cram it down everybody's throat and make them, you know, it's a I guess it's an exercise in personal development, if that makes sense. Because I feel like
Absolutely.
everybody has to work on that. Because, like you said, there are people that just want to hate. There's people that aren't going to be, you know, so easy to crack. And it's whenever everybody makes their life mission to crack everybody, they don't realize it. It's like you're digging in a lot of people that they're not ready to be cracked. As much as that might suck for everybody right now, human beings take a while. You know what I mean? And that's why even now as a society and as a world, we're progressing so slowly, and everybody wants it all to happen right now. And in a perfect world, it would, but that's not the world we live in. We have to make strides like what's happening right now to have real conversation, to really pump the brakes on the country and be like, everybody hold the fuck up. We got to finally figure this out because this can't keep happening. It should have never been happening. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But
Yeah.
hopefully
I
that
mean,
that kind of says something. You know what I mean?
absolutely, man. I mean, you're a much more calm and peaceful man than me. I could take a page out of your book, but yeah, I think your approach to dealing with these tough issues, kill them with kindness, you know, is like, I don't know, it's
But it's
unique.
like you said, that only works to a degree. I mean, it's all
Sometimes
situational. It's all you know. It's
it
it's
is
up to the individual.
situational, but
You
you
know.
always approaching stuff with a cool head the way you do. I'm sure it's helped you find peace and work through a lot of problems in your life. And it's actually a nice perspective. I feel a little fuzzy on the inside right now, and I could
Yeah.
appreciate hearing shit like this right now. So,
Well, that's good, man. You know, and we're in a time right now where everybody's, you know, they got their fist clenched and shit. And I mean, I'm right there with them. I'm trying to stay logical with everything. I'm trying to stay, you know, very calm because it's so easy to turn into an animal. It's so easy to just get enraged and just destroy anything and everything that gets in your path because that's human nature. That's what we do. You know what I mean? But I just feel like, there's going to be the people that react that way, and there's going to be the people that are going to take a step back and really analyze stuff. And it's a balancing act. You have to get both people to work together, and I feel like through action and thought, and everybody working together, however they work through it, we can get through it. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? As cheesy as that might sound, but
dude, it's well said, man. I appreciate this perspective. All right, I'd love to keep going, but I do have to
got to keep it moving.
Schedule, But Matt, really, really well said, and you're a very smart, well thought out guy, and I love that you put thought before action. Most people just want to smash, but yeah, thankfully there are cool heads like you in the world.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that a lot, for real.
Yeah, I'm gonna show this giveaway real quick. Matt Honeycutt is going to build you a custom-made knife. It's very cool that you do this, and you're making a one-of-a-kind item for somebody. Visit soundrink.live. A $10 donation gets you entered into our giveaway raffle, and you have a chance of winning over 100 prizes, including this one, which is very sick. I'm probably going to hit you up soon to maybe get one of these. This is pretty awesome. Yeah. Oh, cut you out. Sorry about that. So, yeah. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate your time, and thank you for coming on. And, we'll talk soon, my man.
Hey, appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
All right, dude. Okay, 2-minute break, and then I'm bringing up Keith Buckley from Every Time I Die. It's going to be exciting. Be back with you in 2 minutes.